Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make this beautiful open shell stitch halter tank top. So this is the one that I was talking about in my recent live video. It is the second design that we are making using this stitch. The first design was of the open shell stitch crochet bralette, and if you haven't yet checked it out, please make sure you check it out after this video because the tutorial for this top is already up on the channel. So this is how the tank top looks like. It's of the halter shape. That's why I decided to call it that. And let's jump into the materials. The things you'll need are yarn. The yarn that I'll be using is Baby Natural Cotton by Katopu, and you need just about like 1.5 balls of this, and each ball is about 200 meters. And the yarn is 100 grams. Then you will also need a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. You will need a measuring tape to take your bust measurement, because that's the measurement that we are going to be considering for this tutorial. And for the measurement, you need the full bust measurement. I'll be leaving an image on the screen so that it can guide you through how to take that measurement. You'll also need a pair of scissors to cut off your ends, and then a darning needle to weave them in. So let's get started and learn how to make this beautiful piece. The next tutorial after this will be of the tank top that is a v-neck, so stay tuned for that, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So let's get started. So you're going to grab your hook and start off with a chain of 40. This should be a multiple of 5. So start off with a slip knot, and you're going to make a chain of 40 or any multiple of 5. If you're a size large, extra large, then you're going to make a total of 45 chains. And if you're 2XL, you're going to make a total of 50 chains. So after your slip knot, you're going to make your chain. So I have my 40 chains here, and now I'm going to go into the fifth chain from the hook. So count from this one: 1, 2, 3, 4, and then into the 5th you're going to place a double crochet. So that will create our very first V-stitch. And now we are going to make a chain of 2, skip 4 chains, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, and into the 5th you're going to place a V-stitch. So 1 double crochet into it, chain 2, and 1 more double crochet into the same chain. So we've created our second V-stitch of the row. So chain 2, skip 4 chains, and then 1 V-stitch into the next chain. And a V-stitch is a double crochet, chain 2, and 1 more double crochet into the same chain. So we're going to repeat this all the way across. Chain 2, skip 4 chains, and into the 5th you're going to place a V-stitch. Chain 2, skip 4 chains, V-stitch into the next chain. So repeat this until you have a total of 5 chains left on your row. Alright, now we have a total of 5 chains left, and we're going to make a chain of 2 and go into the very last chain, which is this one. Skip the 4 chains, and into the last chain you're going to place 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet into the same space or into the same chain. And your work should look like this. Now we're going on to our next row, which is row 2, and we're going to make a chain of 3. This is going to be the row of shells. The first row is the row of V-stitches. So now the next row, which is row 2, is going to be the row of shells. So you're going to make a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet, turn your work, and into the first V-stitch, which is this one, you're going to place a total of 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Like that. Now into the next chain 2 space, which is here, the space between the 2 V-stitches, which is this one, you're going to place a single crochet. So just insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all. And then into the next V-stitch, which is this one, you're going to place 7 double crochets into that V-stitch space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So after your 7 double crochets, you're going to go into the next chain 2 space with 1 single crochet. And into the next V-stitch, you're going to place 7 double crochets, which is this one. So you just go into the space of the V-stitch and place a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And that's all that we are going to repeat across until we are left with only 1 V-stitch, which is this one. So work until the second last V-stitch, and I'll meet you back to show you how to wind up your row. So I am done placing my last 7 double crochets into the second last V-stitch, and after this I am going to go into the next chain 2 space, which is this one, with 1 single crochet, and into the very last V-stitch, this one here, you're going to place a total of 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that marks the end of row 2. And this should be the right side of your work. Where the shells face is the right side of your work. So let's go on to row 3. You're going to make a chain of 5, which will count as a double crochet chain 2. After this, you're going to turn your work after a chain of 5, and you're going to place a double crochet into the very first stitch where the chain 5 is coming from. You're going to place 1 double crochet, and this will create our very first V-stitch. And then you're going to make a chain of 2 and go into the middle double crochet of the next shell. You're going to skip over all these stitches and go into the 4th double crochet of the next shell. The 4th double crochet should be the middle stitch because the shell has a total of 7 double crochets. And you're going to go into the middle one with a V-stitch. And remember, a V-stitch is 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 1 double crochet. And then you're going to make a chain of 2 go into the middle of the next shell, into that middle stitch, which is the 4th stitch, and you're going to place a V-stitch in there. From here, you're going to chain 2, go into the middle stitch of the next shell, and place a V-stitch. Then you're going to make a chain of 2, do the same all the way across until the second last shell. So V-stitch into the middle stitch, chain 2, V-stitch into the middle stitch of the next shell, Alright, so we've reached the second last shell and we have a half shell here. So you're going to make a chain of 2 and you're going to prepare for a double crochet by yarning over, and you're going to go into the top of the very edge, chain 3, and you're going to place a V-stitch there. So 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 1 more double crochet. So this will mark the end of row 3, and you can see we have the edge V-stitches, and this should bring us to the same number of V-stitches that we had for row 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So let's go on to row 4. Row 4 is going to be quite different. We're going to make a chain of 3, turn our work, and into the very first V-stitch you're going to place a total of 7 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So once you have your 7 double crochets, including there's also the chain 3, so that means this is a total of 8 double crochets. Then from here you're going to go into the next chain 2 space with a single crochet, 7 double crochets into the next V-stitch. So I hope you still remember how we worked through 2. Just do 7 double crochets into the V-stitches, 6 and 7, and then from here you're going to make 1 single crochet into the next chain 2 space, and then 7 double crochets into the next V-stitch, and then 1 single crochet into the next chain 2 space, and you're going to repeat this all the way across, and I'll meet you back towards the end of the row. Alright guys, so I'm coming to the end of the row and I've placed my last 7 double crochets into the second last V-stitch, then 1 single crochet into the next chain 2 space. Now into the very last V-stitch you're going to make a total of 8 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and we're making a total of 8 double crochets just because we have a total of 8 at the beginning here, and we want to balance exactly what's happening on this side onto this side. So let's go on to our next row, which is row 5. Row 5 is going to begin with a chain of 5, which counts as a double crochet chain 2. Turn your work, and we're going to go into the very first space, which is this one, the very first stitch of the row where the chain 5 comes from. you're going to go into the first stitch and place 1 double crochet in there. And then from here, you're going to make a chain of 2. You're going to skip over the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th, you're going to place a V-stitch. Now we've started increasing our halter top. We're going to start increasing the sides, as you can see here. The top is taking another direction, so if you see this happening, this is what it's supposed to be. Don't get scared about that. So after this, you're going to make a chain of 2 and go into the middle stitch of the next shell, which should be the 4th stitch or the 4th double crochet, and you're going to place 1 V-stitch in there. And then you're going to make a chain of 2, V-stitch into the middle stitch of the next shell. And repeat that all the way across until the second last shell, and I'll be back to show you how to wind up your row. Alright, so I've placed my last V-stitch, my second last V-stitch into the second last shell of the row. Now you're going to make a chain of 2 and into the last shell, here on the last shell, remember we have a total of 8 double crochets including the chain 3. Now you're going to skip over the first 3 stitches, and into the 4th you're going to place a V-stitch. And then from here, you're going to make a chain of 2 and go on top of the edge, chain 3. And you're going to place 1 last V-stitch there. So 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 1 more double crochet into the same exact space, or into the same exact chain. And this will mark the end of our row 5. So your work should be slanting outwards, because we are now creating the coverage for the bust and also increasing so that we can get our bust measurement. So after this, we are going on to row 6, and row 6 we are going to start off with a chain of 3, turn our work, and we're going to go into the very first chain 2 space. The row 6 is going to resemble row 2. So you're going to just make a chain of 3 and then go into the very first space or into the very first V-stitch, and you're going to place a total of 3 double crochets. That's all. And you're going to go into the next chain 2 space with 1 single crochet. Then you're going to place 7 double crochets into the next V-stitch. And from here, you're going to go into the next chain 2 space with 1 single crochet. And we're going to repeat this all the way across until we place our second last shell into the second last V-stitch. Okay, so I've placed my second last shell into the second last V-stitch. Now the last shell is going to be a half shell, just like we have at the beginning of the row. So after you single crochet into this space, you're going to go into the very last V-stitch and you're going to make a total of 1, 2, 3, and 4 double crochets into the very last V-stitch. That will balance out what we have on this side. Now, as I had mentioned earlier on, row 6 is basically row 2. So we're going to repeat from row 2 to row 5. So now that we've finished row 6 that resembles row 2, the next row is going to be the same as row 3, and the next row will be the same as row 4, the next row will be the same as row 5, and just keep repeating the sequence. I'll be leaving all the timestamps in the description box below so that you can follow along easily. So remember, we are repeating from rows 2 to 5 until we get the base of our halter top. I'll be calling it that for now. Until the base of our halter top measures half of our bust measurement. So I'm going to keep working until I get to that level, and I want to stop at a row that resembles row 2, the one that has the half shells on the edge. Just keep that in mind. So I'm going to keep repeating rows 2 to 5 until I have the length that I want at the base of my halter top. And then another thing that you have to note is you should end on a row that resembles row 3, or the V-stitch row, not the shell row. So the V-stitch row, which is this one that creates that lace pattern, not the shells. That's the row that you should stop on. And yeah. Right guys, so I continue to repeat rows 2 through 5 until the base of my top measured half of my bust, and making sure that I ended with a row that looks like row 2. And you can see this is halfway 32. You can see 16. And you're going to have to make sure you take this measurement while stretching your work. You don't want a big fitting for your top. I learned my lesson from the Viva crochet tank top, and I don't want to make the same exact mistakes that I did for that top. So you don't want a big fitting for your top. So make sure while taking the measurement at the base of your top, you're stretching out your work like this, so that you can get a well-fitted top. And now you're going to go ahead and make a second panel identical to what we already have. Here is mine. Just make a second panel, and I have a total of 10 rows on both panels. And if you're a size, let me say large to extra large, you'll do a total of 13 rows. I think just make sure you get the measurements right. That's the main point. But what I'm advising, 10 rows for size extra small, small, medium, then large to extra large, a total of 13 rows, and then 2XL, where we are ending this pattern, we are going for a total of 16 rows. So before we join, so make sure you have the number of rows that you need for your size, basing on your measurements. And let's go on to the next step, which is to turn this into a functional piece. So from here, after your very last stitch here, you're going to make sure that the wrong sides are facing each other. As you can see, the tail on this side is this, is here. The tail of this panel is here, and then the tail of this one is on this side. That way we are very sure that the right sides of the tank top are facing outwards. So after this, after your second panel, don't cut your yarn. We are going to attach it into the very first stitch, which is the chain 3. I've gone into the top of the chain 3 and made a slip stitch there. That way we've attached the sides of the tank top, And we're going to just do the same exact thing with this tail that we have on this side. So just go into the chain 3 on the second panel and so right now this is what we have. We're going to start working in rounds. So make sure you're working in the opposite direction of the previous row. So as you can see here, this is this direction. So we're going to make a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Turn our work onto the opposite direction of the previous row. Make 1 double crochet into the very first double crochet on this side, and that will mark our very first V-stitch of the row or the round, because this is now round 1. So after the V-stitch, you're going to make a chain of 2 and then go into the middle stitch of the next shell with 1 V-stitch. So we're going back to the original pattern. Nothing is really changing. The only change now is that we are working in rounds. So you're going to make a chain of 2, go into the middle stitch of the next shell and place a V-stitch, which is 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 1 more double crochet. And we're going to do this all the way across until the end of this very first panel. I'll show you how to cross over to the second panel. So we're coming to the end of our very first panel. You remember our round started from here, and we are coming to the end of our first panel so that we cross over to the second panel. And now we're going to make a chain of 2. Place 1 double crochet into the very last stitch of the first panel, like that. And then you're going to make a chain of 2 and 1 double crochet into the very first stitch of the second panel. That way we have placed a V-stitch and also crossed over onto the second panel. And now we're going to just repeat the pattern, chain 2, 1 V-stitch into the middle stitch of the next shell, and repeat that all the way across until towards the end of the row or round, and I'll show you how to wind up. So we're almost towards the end of our round, and as you can see here, we've placed a V-stitch into this shell, and remember we've already placed a shell here. So what we are going to do right now is to make a chain of 2 and skip over all these stitches, and we're going to go into the third chain of the first chain 5 of the round. So into that chain, the third chain, just make 1 slip stitch. So insert your hook and pull through all, and that will mark the end of our very first round of the tank top. Now for the second round, you're going to make a chain of 1, turn your work, and make a single crochet into the very first chain 2 space. Make 1 single crochet there, and then you're going to make a total of 7 double crochets into the V-stitch. 4, 5, 6, and 7. After your 7 double crochets, you're going to make 1 single crochet into the next chain 2 space, and then 7 double crochets into the next V-stitch. 1 single crochet into the next chain 2 space. Now we're going to repeat that all the way around, because now we're working in rounds. Don't forget that. And yeah, just repeat that all the way around. And I'll meet you back towards the beginning of the round and show you how to wind up your round. Alright guys, so we're coming to the end of round 2, and I'm done placing 7 double crochets into the second last V-stitch. As you can see here, I'm placing 1 single crochet into the next chain 2 space. Now into this very last V-stitch, you're going to place a total of 7 double crochets as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So after your 7 double crochets, you're going to go into the very first single crochet that you made, and you're going to place 1 slip stitch, pull through. So that marks the end of round 2. So for round 3, you're going to make a chain of 1, turn your work. Remember, your ori is going to work in the opposite direction of the previous round. So chain 1, turn your work, slip stitch into each of the next 4 stitches. So until the middle stitch. So I've slip stitched all the way to the middle. And then from here, you're going to make a chain of 5, which counts as a double crochet chain 2. Go into the same stitch, which is the 4th stitch, with 1 double crochet, and this will count as our very first V-stitch of the round. Then from here, you're going to make a chain of 2 and go into the middle stitch of the next shell with 1 V-stitch. Now from here, you're going to just repeat that all the way around. Chain 2, 1 V-stitch into the middle stitch of the next shell. So go all the way around. I'll meet you back towards the end of the round. Alright guys, so we're coming to the end of round 3, and I've placed my last V-stitch into the last shell. And after this, you're going to make a chain of 2 and slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the first chain 5. So into the 3rd chain, you're going to place 1 slip stitch. And you can see this row or this round resembles round 1. So we're going to keep repeating, alternating between round 2 and 3, 2 and 3. So just like we did for round 2, you're going to make a chain of 1 for round 4 and turn your work and make 1 single crochet into the very first chain 2 space, which we did for round 2. I hope you can remember that at this point. So from here, you're going to make a total of 7 double crochets into the next V-stitch. After your 7 double crochets, you're going to place 1 single crochet into the next chain 2 space. And I hope you can remember that from round 2. So just keep alternating between round 2 and 3, round 2 and 3, 2 and 3, until you get the length of the tank top that you want. So I'm going to keep working until I get a decent length, and I'll come back to show you what everything looks like at this point. At the point where I'll have stopped. So, but this is the progress of our tank top. So just keep repeating until you get the length of the tank top that you need. Alright guys, after getting the length that you want, for me, for this sample, I have done a total of 10 rounds. Total 10 rounds. After the halter shaping, we have a total of 10 rounds from this point onwards until the end. And you should end on a round that has the shells, because it's more beautiful to have at the edge. It creates that scalloped edge. And then from here, you're going to just make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. Pull through. You can go as long as you want your tank top to be. But for now, we're going to start creating the straps that are going to go on our shoulder area. Now, you're going to grab your yarn. Make a slip knot and attach your yarn in one of the corners of the first panel. So just attach your yarn there like this, and then make a single crochet into the same space. And then you're going to make a chain of 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is not gospel truth. Just do a length of a strap that is comfortable for you. For me, the chain of 40 gives me about 10 inches length. Then from there, make sure your chain is not twisted and attach that chain into the V-stitch space on this side and make a single crochet there, like that. So I think I'm going for spaghetti straps, so I'm not going to go back on this chain whatsoever. I'm not going to go back on it with any stitch. So I'll just make a single crochet and chain 1 and cut my yarn. I feel like the tank top, it already has a very beautiful design, and I think this strap just gives it even more character. These very thin straps. If you want, you can go back on this chain with a single crochet stitch just to make it a little bit thicker and more sturdy. So after this, we're going to do the same thing on this side, on the opposite side. Now this applies to all sizes apart from extra large and 2XL. For those sizes, you can do a strap of about 50 chains just to get a comfortable fitting for your size. Now 1, 2, 3. So I have my 40 chains here, and I'm attaching onto the opposite side with a single crochet and then chaining 1 and cutting my yarn. Pull through. Now this is basically it. This is what we have. This is the back side of our top and this is the front side of our top. Now we're going to go ahead and grab our darning needle and weave in all our tails. If you have 2 strands that are meeting at a specific point, just make a knot. That's how I like to do it. I know some people don't like it, but it's a quick solution. Alright guys, after weaving in all your ends, this is literally what we have. We have our open shell stitch halter tank top. And this is great for summer if worked in cotton, because acrylic may be a little bit warm, on the warmer side. But I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you did, and make sure you share this video with your friends and family and any crochet friend of yours. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.